You know, I actually had a very good round of tipping last week, and sad day happened. I believe I'll probably be dead before I get a perfect round. Hello guys, CT99 here, and welcome to NRL Tips Predictions round number 20. We're pretty much now right at the final stretch for the regular season. Obviously, Origin is tomorrow, as this is hopefully uploaded on the Tuesday, but you know, this is where it starts to get very serious for a lot of teams who are trying to make the push for the finals. So let's see what the games are looking like this week. So the first game will be starting at prime time on Friday night, and we have the Newcastle Knights in a prime time Channel 9 game. That just doesn't happen. And it is the Newcastle Knights taking on the West Tigers to open the round. Now, obviously the Knights are coming off a bye, and in the previous game they won 66-0 against the Canterbury Bulldogs. The West Tigers, yes, 2 weeks ago did cop the 74-0 loss, but gave the Sharks a bit of run for their money in the first half last week, but obviously the Sharks were able to come back in the second half and get the win there. So it's a bit of an interesting one for both sides. Obviously, the Tigers need to win this to try to avoid a consecutive wooden spoon. But one thing I do need to state is that the Knights potentially, if I think it's about 4 or so teams lose and the Knights win, the Knights could go as high as 10th place with a win and the other results happening. So there is a little bit of that, like, you know, when the Knights have had like chances to, you know, properly move up the ladder, they've kind of underperformed and all that. But this just seems like a game that the Knights could take lightly and let the Tigers into the match. Like, I think it's like I know the market and everything is saying that this game is going to be an absolute blowout, but I think this game is actually going to be quite close. I'm still going to say the Knights should win, but if they don't, oh boy. Now we move on to the Saturday game. We've got the 3 p.m. kickoff. We're back at Belmore for like probably only the second or third time this season, as we have the Canterbury Bulldogs taking on the Brisbane Broncos. So the Broncos are coming off a bye last week. Obviously, in the 2 weeks prior, they did get their win, their second win over their other Brisbane team in the Dolphins. And the Bulldogs have actually bounced back from that 66-0 loss with a win against South Sydney. Granted, you may need to put a few asterisks in terms of that result, but they still got the win. And of course, this game is going to have a lot more significance, as this is going to be Josh Reynolds' final game of his career. The Prince of Belmore, it's at Belmore, like, fitting that his final game should be at that stadium. And I don't know if this is just me, like, kind of being swept by this, like, occasion and stuff like that. Because I do remember Josh Reynolds' last game at Belmore, when he first kind of inkling he was going to retire, actually, they beat the Knights. Oh, God, I can't remember. It was like 2014, 15, something along those lines. But I feel like for this game, and this is probably the boldest prediction you could possibly make, I think the Bulldogs are actually going to beat Brisbane. I know that everything should be pointing the other way, but things happen. It will just be, I think, very fitting to see that Josh Reynolds wins the final game of his career at the stadium where his nickname comes from. I think it could potentially happen. Now we move on to the 5:30 kickoff, and we go to see the Manly Seagulls take on the North Queensland Cowboys. Both teams are coming off byes, with both teams coming off wins in the previous 2 weeks when they last played, with the Cowboys winning 74-0 against the Tigers, and Manly just hanging on for a win against the Roosters, which, I'm going to be honest, how did the Roosters not win that? So you got both teams currently in a good bit of form, basically 9th and 10th, challenging for the finals. This is a game that can very much decide the season outcome for these two teams. Obviously, the last time these two teams did play each other, Manly went out to a very good lead, and the Cowboys made one of the best comebacks in recent memory to take the win. I don't know, I feel like the Cowboys could probably do this. I know Manly has been fairly good, but I think the Cowboys have been having the better form, and I think they should just about get over the line. I think it should be close, but I think the Cowboys should win. And now we go to the final game of the Saturday, and we have the Sydney Roosters taking on the Melbourne Storm at the SCG. This game, I'm going to say, is fairly interesting. So both teams, of course, coming off buys, and both teams are coming off losses in their last time that they did play, and it's a bit weird. Like, Roosters just losing to Manly, and Melbourne having a really good start, but just being utterly demolished by Penrith in the second half. I don't know, for the Roosters, it's very important because they need to start getting wins if they want to make the finals. And I feel like the Storm just don't have enough credibility at the moment. And unfortunately for Roosters fans, I think this tournament's going to keep on going. I'm going to say that I think the Melbourne Storm should get the win. I don't know, that game could be anything. The Roosters could dominate, the Storm could dominate. It could be very close. It's one of those games where you can't really have like a clear plan on what's going to happen, but I do think Melbourne should be able to get the win there. Now we go on to the 2 p.m. kickoff on Sunday, and we have actually a very tasty matchup. Oh boy. We have the New Zealand Warriors hosting the Cronulla Sharks. Both teams are coming off wins. The Sharks able to shake off a very valiant Tigers team to get the win last week, and the Warriors putting 46 points on Parramatta. But I just feel like the Warriors are just... This is weird. I think they're a dark horse to win the title. And I genuinely believe that at this point. And I feel like a win against Cronulla is going to be okay, yep, they're serious. They are a team to actually watch out for. I mean, they kind of have been for the refs so far this season, but this is the coming out party, if you will. And I believe the Warriors are going to win. Don't even think that's too far controversial. Don't think it's a bit of a hot take. I think the Warriors should be able to take the win there. Now we go to the 4 p.m. kickoff on the Sunday. And we have got an interesting matchup, to say the very least, as we have the Redcliffe Dolphins hosting the Penrith Panthers. Obviously, the Dolphins did play last week and went down to the wire to Golden Point, with the Dolphins just about holding out, getting the win over the Gold Coast Titans, making it 2-0 for the year against one of their fellow Queensland teams. And the Penrith Panthers had a bye last week, but are coming off a win against the Melbourne Storm, as previously mentioned. I'm going to be honest, I don't really see there's any way of the Dolphins winning this game. Granted, you've got still a fair amount of the Penrith players, a bit lesser from game 1 and 2 playing in game 3, and you're probably going to have a couple of Dolphins players, but playing for Queensland, but they should all still be relatively okay for this game. I just think it's the Panthers. What can you really expect? And I'm just going to say the Panthers should be able to win this game. And finally, we go to the final game of the round, and we have the Parramatta Eels taking on the Gold Coast Titans. Now, Parramatta copped a 46-0 loss at home. 46-10 loss, sorry. Sorry, I forgot they scored points. And we have the Gold Coast Titans, who are just coming off a loss to the Redcliffe Dolphins in Golden Point. This is a game that literally can go anywhere as well. It's both teams are having these spells of being hot and cold. I feel this can be a close game because there is a little bit of, final significance, because Parramatta are just about clinging on to the top eight, while the Titans are desperately wanting to come up. If I had to take a pick, well, here's the thing. I haven't really tipped Parramatta, and most of the time they've won it, but when I do back Parramatta, they don't win. It's hard. I'm going to say Parramatta should win. Maybe, I guess. It's going to be one of those hard ones to try to predict. But yeah, I do think Parramatta should be able to get the business done at home. If not, then I'm an idiot. So that is the end of the predictions. Who do you guys have for this round? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all later.